How's everyone doing out there? How's our journey to producing fruit and not brambling? Who wants to continue to bramble on in their lives? Hands up. Who wants to produce fruit? Yeah. This is the place we got to get to. Um, okay, well, we got a question here from a dear sister. She's asked a very interesting question, and one I can't really go into in great detail, but it was in relationship to Caiaphas being the basket man or maker. We know he was wicked. Is there a connection between the woman of Shinar, who's called wickedness in the basket, and that's found in the prophecies, and Zechariah, I believe. But one of the, and that's a great question because there's really two main takes on that. One is a literal sort of take that relates to the flying scroll and perhaps in relationship to its destruction of the city of Damascus, one of the great end times prophecies as we come to the age is the total destruction of this city. And it's described that it's on the wings of a stork, and what was put into this basket is wickedness from the land of Shinar, which would be sort of what we'd call modern day Iraq, Persia. There's two main takes on that. One is the literal take that it relates to the great end times prophecy, and what you're seeing there is a description of a weapon that is used to destroy the city in a literal term. That is a take on it. And the other, of course, it is coming from Babylon, and is this a representation of what destroys, and bearing in mind, Damascus is the longest inhabited city in human history. And so what has come forth from there is that wickedness in the spiritual sense, and is what we're seeing here, Mystery Babylon doing this, and a part of that. And so these are the two takes on it, whether it's a literal wet description of a weapon that will ultimately destroy, because it's encased in lead, which of course nuclear weapons actually are. An interesting description in there. And so it depends which take you want to do. Sometimes both things can be true, and you're seeing a shadow picture of something that occurred in the spiritual and now will be judged in the physical. And so is it both? Those are the only two understandings I have of that. It's quite an interesting question. I can't go into it here in a lot of detail, but I can say that you could have a weightier spiritual picture relating to the physical destruction and all of this, and the reason why it is destroyed is because indeed wickedness was transported from Babylon. And the fact that it mentions Damascus and that it still stands to this day is also incredible testimony to prophecy. So it's a great question. I'm not sure if I can answer it as some absolute, but those are the only two takes that I know of this great prophecy. And like I say, sometimes one can be a shadow picture of the other, and sometimes things can be represent those greater truths at once from a literal and a greater spiritual weightier matter. But very interesting question in relationship to the basket maker. So that was a question that was put on there. I hope that helps, my answer there. Yeah, again, that's one of those ones that, much thought in all of this. Okay, was there any other questions? I think I saw Violet with her hand up there. Is that right, Violet? Have you got your hand up? I'm going to get you to unmute if you do. No, I'm not sure. Well, Violet, if you can hear me, if you have a question, I'll just get you to unmute there. All right. I don't see any other questions on here. Oh, Eric's come in. Eric, I'll get you to unmute there, brother.
I can do that. Hello, brother.
Shabbat shalom, sir.
Shabbat shalom to you, and thanks for calling me brother. I'm big on brotherhood. Um, since nobody was asking a question, I thought in the last part of the presentation we had the inside Ezekiel's temple, we had the palm trees, and you're telling about this, what that might mean. How about the cherubim? Do you have anything to say about interspersed between the
Yeah,
palms
great.
were the cherubim? I don't know what your take might be on that, or if you
Yeah.
would even want to delve into it in this discussion.
No, look, it's a great question, and perhaps because it was mentioned there, I should have touched on that. So that was remiss of me in the teaching, I guess. Um,
Mhm.
my honest take on this is that you're seeing the servants with the bride. Of course, the cherubim representing the messenger realm, and they're in an eternal state. And in fact, your question's so good that, and again, I should have mentioned this in the teaching. It's linking it as an eternal thing. So it's a big deal, actually, what you're asking. It's a very insightful question because it's showing that which we know is eternal with this symbolism of something I believe is also going to be eternal. Do you see what I mean? It gives weighting to the two are together in an eternal state. And we know the cherubim are in an eternal state in the messenger realm. So it
Right.
actually is another pointer or indicator to the eternal state. So it's a very good question, actually. And I apologize for not making that inference in the teaching.
Oh, that's fine. You did great. I mean, I pulled it. I know you weren't discussing that right there, but it's significant because it's, you have the male and the female type of palm trees and all of that. And the cherubim, what are the cherubs? What are the
Yeah.
cherubim is a big thing for many people who dig around, trying to understand that. And if I make it to this get together in what is September, October, maybe there'll be time to chit chat about some of that or all these other fun topics. But I really appreciate you, and I don't mean to take any more time. I can lower my hand now. Thank you.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Eric.
God
Um,
bless you.
yeah, you
Yeah.
too. You too.
All
Um,
right. Bye-bye.
it's neat in all of that thought too, because Yeshua points that don't you know the messengers will serve us, and yet they're in an eternal state right now. So there's lots of interesting discussion, but I think you're seeing an incredible picture being put on the walls of this eternal picture, which includes those messengers that didn't fall. And we know they're in an eternal state. So it's interesting that the palm tree is also linked with them. And I believe it is clearly pointing to the eternal state and why this place is showing the messengers as a part of all of this as well. And so they are serving us and the king, and they're serving from an eternal place. It's a beautiful picture, really, if you think about it. If we really know what he's doing, he's going to have his purpose and his will accomplished. And he's given us these beautiful revelations, these hidden revelations, these pictures, again, for those who have eyes and ears, eyes to see, ears to hear, these beautiful connections that if we can see them, that he is indeed going to fulfill his purpose and have this incredible, beautiful, eternal picture. And he wants it to be displayed on the walls of the temple for us to discover and for us to find and to know. And I personally find that very powerful because I know that Elohim does nothing for no reason. He has a purpose in everything he's done if we can only see it. And I think the trees and the fruit and the journey and whatnot is one of the most powerful ways that I understand the faith test with us coming into the time domain. I don't know of a more beautiful picture than what he used with the trees. And so I wanted to share that with the community. I know he taught me a lot and it gave me a lot of understanding of my faith and the reason for a lot of these things that we all experience, that they do come with purpose and with meaning, and it's all falling into his great eternal plan of redemption. And he has a beautiful plan, and he's Elohim, and he has the right to make his dream come true. And so he's given us hints of his dream, of his will, and his desire. And so he's telling us, this is my desire. And it's quite a beautiful way that he's laid it out for us to discover. I think, anyway. Um, yeah. Actually, somebody makes a good point here. Not to make the images of certain creatures and whatnot. It's interesting that that was reserved only for the temple. The actual temple inside. So that's a neat comment there from Trisha. Donald, and get you on mute here. Shabbat shalom, brother.
Shabbat shalom, Curtis.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Rough week,
Yeah.
but made it through. Y'all willing.
So what's going on, sir?
My question is more of a hypothetical, as well as like an analytical question. That being the shade of trees being tied with Elohim worship, and the idea that I was thinking of was one of Adam and Hava being told, you can partake of the fruit of the garden, the fruit of the trees of the garden, and linking that to messengers or Elohim giving fruit as teachings, like you may partake of these teachings from these beings and partake of their fruit, but you're not to partake of this tree.
Oh, it's exactly what it's saying. He's restoring the garden. he is. It's a beautiful thing. It's spot on. I'm just, all I can say is I'm in full agreement with what I think you're saying, and I absolutely believe that's exactly what he's saying. That when we turn back and we're restored back to him, we'll be eating from the tree of life and the good fruit of the trees of the garden. Yeah, he's restoring the garden eternally. And it's.
If I may, then taking that to, that's the beginning, then taking it to the end, and then you have the tree of life being spoken of in a plurality of it bearing fruit and also giving off fruit, then that's the end result of all of the synopsis of the beginning.
Yep. It's an Akkad picture. The two shall become one. Well done. Well done, Donald. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Bless you, brother. Thank you. Well, we got one more. Does anybody else want to say anything? Come on. Don't be shy. You want to be on that? You want to be represented in that temple? Debbie. We're going to finish with Debbie. Unmute you there.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Debbie. How are you?
I'm good. I didn't even know that I was trying to raise my hand, but I couldn't, I've not asked a question before, so it's like I'm a little nervous. But what keeps coming to my mind is Deuteronomy 34:3, that Jericho was called the city of palms. And I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that.
I don't off the top of my head. Let's just see something here. What a neat question. So we're in Devarim.
34:3.
Let me just see something here.
This kind of sticks with me. I was in Israel once, and I was on a tour, and I was reading through the Bible, as I do. And the day that we went to Jericho was when I got back to the hotel that night. I read my reading, and it was right there. And Jericho is just forests of palm trees, date palms. And so it's always stuck with me.
Very interested in what you're highlighting here, actually. I find anything that's relating to the palm trees there, it's did you say 34:3?
Yeah, Deuteronomy 34:3.
Oh yeah, the Valley of Jericho, the city of palms, as far as
And I know previous as I had ever read that, I never ever noticed that in his word it referred to Jericho as a city of palms. It wasn't until I was
yeah.
that I
Well,
noticed that it popped out at me.
it is interesting, and again, I touched in the sense that there's trees that came with coming into the promised land, and the palms are one of them. You know, the cedars are too, and things like that. You know, it's an interesting sort of thing to ponder because he's making the point right after that, the land of which, you know, I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will give to you. I will give it to your offspring. I will let it see it with your eyes, but you shall not go over there. So it's a very interesting thing they're being given a glimpse of at this point. That's referencing the palms, you know, that's interesting. It is.
Yeah, right. And I'm thinking
Because it's associated to the promised land. And of course, spiritually, the promised land is, his eternal picture. Yeah, that's an interesting little capture there.
I just thought too of the healing, those qualities that you mentioned that the dates give, and that those trees were at that place for those purposes, possibly.
Well, it's fascinating because, again, I linked, this reversal of this judgment, because he made them ground up the powder, the gold, and made them drink it. And of course, if you understand what that does, it actually gives,
right.
Yeah. So it's funny how these things are the antidote. But yeah, wow. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Was that a shadow picture or a glimpse of something associated to the promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov in that little just captured there? Yeah. Yeah, that's neat.
Well, thank you very much. And I so, so very much appreciate you and Michael, more than I could even express.
No, I appreciate that, Debbie. And so does Michael.
Yeah.
We both
shalom.
appreciate. Shabbat shalom to you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Debbie. Well, I guess I can't see if I've missed any questions here. I do apologize if I've missed anything on here, but if I have, I'm sorry. Please forgive me if I've missed any questions on there. But again, I do hope it was a blessing to you. It's just the way the Father allows us, I think, to take such deep matters and somehow make sense of our journey, and in such a meaningful way. And sometimes when we get back to looking at things maybe the way he set out for us to look at it, that it maybe gives that little bit more understanding to all of us. Because sometimes it's hard. We go through things in this life like our dear brother and Patricia and Adrian. But what's accounted for and what's there is, that beautiful picture of us becoming his palm trees. And, to take that place amongst him. And so may it be an encouragement to all of you. And may we be the witness of proclaiming eternal life with our faith, how we walk it out, but also proclaiming it with our words. There are people who he has chosen to hear this message of redemption. And what we all have is hope, and to give that account of the hope that's within us. Now's the time to do it. He's opening the eyes and ears of those that are still yet to understand. I think we're getting more and more of an ear from those who are truly called. We'll get more and more shunned from those who aren't. But those who are actually being called, it may surprise you who's around your life right now. If we can be the right witness and proclaim the truth in a way that is pleasing to him, may we produce the good fruit that he can use as a part of all of this. Amen. Now's the time. Now is the time. There's some neat insights and questions there. That's why we enjoy so much being and serving this community, and those who stand with us and beside us and walk with us. It's actually quite an honor and a joy to share this kind of things with this community. Many of you just so much have been in a place of repentance and looking at your faith deeper, and trying to get out of the bramble of our lives. And I want you to know from Michael and I that serving into that is also a joy and an honor. It is to walk with many in our wider community. It is such a blessing, and especially a lot of the noise and silliness I sometimes am privy to or faced with, and things outside the community. I almost get weekly reminders of just being thankful for all of you. So, thank you for allowing us to share and to serve you. We appreciate that. So, why don't we finish with the blessing? And you get to get rid of me next week. Isn't that wonderful? See, there's something to be joyful about. You don't have to put up with me next week. So, there you go. And then I'll give you a joyful message, get you through a week, and you'll be okay. Anyway, thank you for the journey. It's been neat to share it with you. Let us close with the blessing. May God bless you and guard you. May He shine His countenance upon you and be gracious to you. Yah will turn His countenance towards you and grant you shalom. To everyone, let's lift up our brother Adrian and Patricia, and may you be blessed this week, and let us go forth, and may we all bear fruit for our King. Shabbat shalom, everyone.